Okay, guys. What I wanted to talk about in this segment is how to do um, the Ekowool for auto drippers. It's not rocket science, but it's kind of finicky to work with, and so what we want to do is I'm just going to show you some tricks to doing it to make your life a little easier. Um, I'm going to have covered, the coils and some of the stuff about Ekowool in my earlier videos. This one I'm going to show you really about how to choose the right size and some of the tricks for working on it to make your life way easier. What we're working with today is the steam turbine. This is the Storm Rider by Steam Boy. It's dual wick. Currently, I only have a single wick in there. This is pretty much identically the same concept as the steam turbine. You can see I've got this one set up already with two strands of 1mm Ekowool. So I'm going to show you basically how I set that up. The thing with particularly with the steam turbine and the Steam Boy, is they have 1/16 wick holes, and they really don't have room to drill them out or make them any bigger. It's a pretty tight setup. What that means is we want to select the right wick size for this. From experience, I can tell you that the 1mm tends to work the best. You want it to go in the wick hole. You don't want it pushing against the sides of your wick hole, or the fluid's not going to travel up there. It's going to choke it. 2mm, you can probably get it to go in that wick hole, but it's going to be constricting the wick, which we really don't want. We want it to leave it a little hollow in the middle. And of course, we've got the 3mm, which I really only use for RDAs. I love it for RDAs. It wicks fast. It holds lots of fluid. You can actually get the 3mm in solid or hollow. If I use hollow, I usually stick a screwdriver in here, open it up, and I can stuff it with cotton so that it holds a lot of juice and still wicks really fast. It works wonderfully for RDAs. But that's not what we're talking about today. So we're going to go with the 1mm. And there's a couple tricks I've learned for working with it. This stuff's very finicky. It's silky smooth. It's by far my favorite wick to use in these things. But you have to be careful with it because it's really delicate. Just touching this like that will cause that to start fraying. And it's very silky and very delicate. And the more you do it, it'll just start to unravel. And pretty soon your ends of your Ekowool are going to look like this. And it's going to be a pain to work with. So what we're going to do is, first thing I want to do is figure out how much I'm going to need. What I do is literally hold that thing about there so I can compare it. I really want it to come up to about the top of that post. And because I'm going to do contact coils for this, I like to leave a double strand at the top. I only want one strand to go in the wick hole, but I want to leave enough up here that when I put it through my coil, it's going to be making contact all the way around that coil. So all the coil's touching juice. You're not getting air in there. If I get air in there, there's going to be hot spots. So what I'm going to do is basically fold it like a little candy cane. And I'm just going to clip off some of this. Basically I'm going to fold it down to where it looks, I don't know, something like that. So I'm going to cut it off right about where my finger is there on the bottom. When you're cutting this, first tip is you want to use flush clippers or toenail clippers, fingernail clippers. You want something that's going to cut that clean in one clip. If you do that, you'll see the end stays nice and together for the most part. If I get one little strand that doesn't cut on the first one, or if I use scissors, it's going to pull on that and it's already going to start to unravel. Now, the next trick to this is putting it in the coil. And again, I've already got my coil set up. I've basically got an 8-wrap micro coil, or a contact coil, is really what they are. I want all my my wraps touching each other. I don't want, what that's going to do is that's going to concentrate all the heat in the center of the coil, and it's going to keep my leads from getting hot and popping, which is the death of auto drippers or any other. So what we're going to do here is, again, I want to put a fold of that through that coil. So I'm going to basically, and I'm going to do it bigger than what I normally would to work with it. So I'm going to fold that over, and I'm just going to use, there's a couple ways to do it. I use precision screwdrivers. That works really well, but it's hard. It's harder than it has to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat, and I've got a little piece of, well, I've got 100 little pieces of 32 gauge here, but I'm just going to cut one real quick, and I'll save this for another coil because I'm going to use a lot. But this really does seem to be the easiest way for me to do it without damaging the wick or the coil. And what I'm going to do is just make a little loop of it. And I don't know how much you're going to be able to see this through my fat fingers, but I'm going to squish that down, run that in through my coil. And I want to make sure I've got my leads the way I want them. So in this case, that's going to be my bottom. So I'm going to put it through like this. Pull my hair out. So here I've got a little loop. I tend to moisten the end of the Ekowool. You can use juice, you can use water. In my case, I'm using saliva just to keep that from spraying. I'm just going to make that little loop like that, and gently, very gently, tug it up through my coil just to where it's coming through the end. And now I can pull this wire out, and you can see I've got a little loop there. Well, and I played with it and pulled it out too far, so I'm going to do that again. If I was a seasoned professional, I would edit this, but since I'm just trying to get this out, and it'll only take a second, show you how easy it is. So easy I can do it twice. Again, thread it through, and just gently pull it up, pull the wire out, and I'm just going to pull that loop back down just to close that down a little bit, just like that. So I've got two loops that are going to stay above the tank, and I've got one loop that's going to go down in. Now, first thing is, this is a tiny hole. This wants to fray and go out. So there's two things I'm going to do. Again, this is really flexible, really bendy. So what I want to do is I want to make that stiff, and I want to make it so that it keeps a lot of the, basically I want to keep that center hollow, so the juice is going to have plenty of room to travel up there. Just like if you were doing a mesh, you want to keep the center of your mesh hollow. I'm going to do the same thing. And the way I'm going to do that is, I'm just going to slide a paper clip up in there, just like that, and we're going to hit it with the torch. And so, if you don't have a torch, you can use a lighter. Honestly, if you're going to be doing this often, a torch makes your life so much easier. You can get them for $8 at Harbor Freight. You can get them for more than $8. This one's a Bed Bath & Beyond creme brulee torch. Whatever works for you. Again, you can do it with a Bic lighter, but it takes a while. And I'm just going to heat this up till it glows. Ekowool is braided silica. It's good to like 2,000 degrees. I'm not going to burn it. This actually helps sterilize it. It gets rid of all the chemicals from manufacturing. And more importantly, it stiffens it up so that it's going to be, it's not going to be rigid, but it's going to be much stiffer than it was. And now, since I've just ran this through that torch, this is going to be very hot. I'm going to leave it there for just, I don't know, a few seconds, let it cool down until I'm not burning myself touching it. And then, once I've got that, I'm going to slide it out of the paper clip. Now you're going to see that's much more rigid than what it was. And now, in order to be able to easily thread this into the tank, what I'm going to do is simply wet the end of this again, mostly just so that it stays in a pretty straightforward manner. Again, I'm going to go to my flush cutters, and I recommend doing this over a garbage can, but since I'm doing a video, I want to do it on camera. I'm just going to cut that at a little bit of an angle. There's no scientific reason for that. There is a practical reason for that, because it's going to be much easier to thread into that wick hole. Once I've got that down, I'm literally just going to line that up with the hole, moisten that end a little bit, because if I even touch the side of the wick hole, it's going to want to unravel on me. And I am not a surgeon. I don't have delicate hands, so that's how I've come up with some of these tricks. But basically, I just want to get that end of this to slide straight down into the tank, like that. So once I get it, the end of it wet, as long as I line that up good, it'll go right in that hole. If you have trouble, you can always get a paper clip, or whatever else you want to use. Paper clips, I'll use precision screwdrivers, fill needles, whatever works for you. And now you can see I've got that sitting in there. I can go ahead and start mounting that coil. Just set my leads, and then we're going to be able to fire this up. I think that's all I'm going to do for this segment. In the next segment, I'll mount it up and show you how to fire it, test it. But this is really some of my tips and tricks for working with the Ekowool. Hope that helps you guys out. Look forward to finishing the series.